Hello friends, what's up? My name is Eddie. I haven't made a video on this channel yet, so this is kind of an unofficial channel introduction since me and my friends need to make our channel introduction, and it seems like this video is going to be the first on track to release, so this is sort of an unofficial introduction. Obviously, some friends and I run this channel, Kestrel, Rule, Tavia. Yeah, we're just sort of going to dick around. This won't be dedicated to anything specifically, or at least not yet. We might find a niche, who knows? Yeah, no, this is just sort of a shitpost that I'm making because I thought the thumbnail would be funny, kind of conceptually. Yeah, I'm a college student. I'm actually eating some food from my college right now. It's kind of ass. And I just had winter break. Now, Rule, who's one of the people who's going to help run this channel, recommended that I read The Way of Kings. And after a lot of procrastinating, and by procrastinating I mean getting bogged down with a lot of other readings because I'm an English major, I folded. Now, pretty good book. I also have a friend named Kestrel, who was once upon a time a mentally sick in the head high schooler. And yeah, they wrote FNAF fanfiction. Still ongoing fanfiction. So I read as much of that as I could get my hands on, and that's released back to back. I finished The Way of Kings, finished Kestrel's fanfiction. So yeah, I'm gonna review them. I'm gonna start with The Way of Kings. We'll roll from there. Way of Kings. So, I love the way that Sanderson writes. Growing up, fantasy was always my favorite genre of book. That's still true today. I really loved Tolkien growing up specifically. I would lose myself in Tolkien's work, stay up late, you know, classic English kid stuff, read into the wee hours of the night, get an awful night's sleep, go to school the next day dead tired. Sanderson sort of re-invoked a lot of those old feelings where I just stay up till ungodly hours reading him. So that was kind of nice. It's always a fun experience when you get a book that gets that for you. It kind of gives me Dune vibes for how he world builds, which, by the way, world building, definitely the highlight of this book, in my opinion. That's actually what I'm going to primarily spend this section talking about, is his world building, because kind of like Dune, he sort of just drops a bunch of terms or events. You're just sort of expected to know what they mean. But with Dune, you can flip to like a little index in the back of the book and figure it all out. Sanderson has none of that. Sanderson has like one index in the back. I think it tells you like some shit about the Knights Radiant. I don't really know that much about the Knights Radiant because I've only read The Way of Kings. So like I vaguely know what they're about. I obviously know like some of the like what they used to be about, but it's all like rumors and myths and whatnot. We know they're important and something's gonna happen with them. But I do know they're bigger later. But I don't know why. I'm going to continue reading the Stormlight Archive just to see what's up with all that. But yeah, no, Sanderson, conversely, he drops things, and you won't figure out what those things are for another like 6, 7, 10, 15 chapters when he breaks them down. And he explores what they are through in-universe characters, right? You get different people's, you know, views of certain events. Of course, it's all a long time ago, so it's not like we really know anything for certain. But it was a real fun way to world build. And with world building like that, though, you kind of run into this this trap where you might throw too much at your audience, and then they have no idea what you're talking about at any given point. And Sanderson does pretty good at not doing that. At no point in time did I think was I like confused about anything. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed his world building sections. I definitely think that's the highlight. Yeah, moving on to characters. Dalinar's the GOAT. I love Dalinar. To explain why I love Dalinar, I would kind of have to summarize a lot of the Way of Kings, and I'm pretty adverse to doing that. I think that there's kind of an epidemic with summaries and like video essays and things of that nature, where people will watch a video about a piece of media, or like, you know, watch the piece of media without actually engaging with the media. And you know, I'm not a big fan of that, if I'm being completely honest. I think that you should engage with the media the way it was intended. And I don't want to feed into that cycle. I feel like we've lost a lot of people that would be pretty heavy readers or stuff like that. So I won't feed into it. I won't summarize The Way of Kings for you here. But I do love Dalinar. He is definitely my goat. I'll get back to Kaladin because I have opinions on Kaladin. Shaylin and Yasna, they were both wonderful. I loved Shaylin's chapters. In fact, they were, honestly, I think, Dalinar is my favorite character, but Shaylin was definitely my favorite POV. I absolutely loved her POVs. I don't know what the fuck is happening with Wit, but I do like him. Szeth is cool, I guess. I started out not liking Szeth, for reasons I'll discuss with Kaladin. But Szeth is interesting. He's grown on me. Adolin is kind of a nothing sandwich right now, so I don't have any strong opinions on him. It just is. Syl is alright, I suppose. Kind of charming. I love all of Bridge Crew 4. The Bridge Crew is great. I love them all. I think it's 4. I can't remember, and I'm not going to go back and edit because it's so low quality. I'm doing all of this in like 1 or 2 takes. But yeah, no. Kaladin. What to say about Kaladin? I didn't like him at first. I really hated him, if I'm being totally honest, because literally all he did was bitch, and he was enslaved, and whatever, great, fine. But I knew they were going to make him cool McFighty guy. They got to do it. Every fantasy story needs it, and in truth, I'm not a big fan of cool McFighty guys as a rule of thumb. It's why I was a little turned off to Szeth at first, because I was like, well, okay, like, is this all he's going to be? Is just doing shit like this? He's pretty interesting. I actually really love him conceptually. Kaladin just sort of felt like they were going to make him a cool McFighty guy with, I don't know, just like a somewhat depressed kind of version of that, and I don't know, I'm not super into that. Not my cup of tea. But he's a hater. He is a hater of Light Eyes, and you know, I can respect a hater. My opinion of him initially first started changing when he stopped being such a little bitch and took like 6 arrows or some shit like that in that one section. And then he's just started absolutely dunking on every Light Eyes, and he's not as much of a hater anymore, but he was such a hater before that I have a soft spot for him now. Just hating every single Light Eyes without exception. Like, every time he starts softening up to one, he's like, but he's a Light Eye, and Light Eyes suck, so yeah, I can respect that. The writing was really good. I really like seeing all the stories like intersect and whatnot. I will say it did feel a little bit, there was this one passage, I remember pretty vividly, where Sanderson was writing from Dalinar's perspective, and he was seeing like Bridge Crew 4, I think, oh, spoilers. Huge spoilers ahead. I probably should have prefaced this whole thing with spoilers. I'll leave in a little thing about spoilers. Yeah, no, but there's this section where Bridge Crew 4 is like fighting, and like Dalinar's troops on the plains or whatever are like coming back, and they're seeing him hold the bridge, and Dalinar's like, oh, it was the most glorious thing I've ever seen. And it really felt like Sanderson was sucking himself off with that description, and like how cool of a scene he could write, but honestly, he kind of deserved it. It was a cool scene. I was pretty hyped until I read that passage. I was like, okay, man. But that being said, it was still a really good scene. I really liked it. I joke. It was good. It was good. Yeah. Honestly, that's kind of all I have to say about The Way of Kings. I could talk at length about it a lot more if I really wanted to. I could talk about the themes. I could talk about the foreshadowing. The foreshadowing is peak. But honestly, this could be its own video that would be a lot like higher quality than this. So like, leave a couple comments, and if I get enough comments, I'll make a full review. One of my friends, Rule, is like super into this. He's helping run the channel. So yeah, he could also like make long form content about this and like drop his own personal theories or whatever. I'm just sort of going through them, so I probably wouldn't be the best to make anything like regarding theories, but I would be open to like continuing to make like videos documenting my journey as I read through The Way of Kings. So yeah, Sanderson, kind of a genius. I loved his works. I give it a solid 7 out of 10 for most of the read, but then at the end, definitely a 9 out of 10. He is a banger writer when it comes to endings. Anyways, I'm going to talk about my mentally sick friends fanfiction and how they compare and contrast. My friend's fanfiction, FNAF fanfiction, is called Take the Fight from the King. It's pretty good. It details the events of the Afton and Emily family right after the Bite of 83. If you aren't acquainted with FNAF, none of this is going to make sense. Go watch like a lore video or something. I don't know. I'll probably leave like in the title card or like in a link down there or something like that. Lore video or something to FNAF. But it takes place starting from like the Bite of 83. Jump straight into it. And then documents basically the family's lives. We haven't even gotten to a mainline FNAF game yet, I don't think, in the fan fiction. It's still being written. You can go and read it. But yeah, no, my friend started this in high school, and they inserted what is clearly a lot of their own experiences into it. I think it is a very good work. And it sometimes is a little painful reading it, not because it's poorly written, it's pretty well written, but it's because I know this person, and sometimes there's little jump scares in there of things I know about this person. It's like, oh, that's cool. This only could have been written by you when you were going through something. But yeah, no. I'm not going to summarize any of it. Once again, I don't believe in summarizing things on YouTube.com. But also, I just play the FNAF games. Like, it's just the FNAF games, but with a lot more character work. And you'll basically be getting a summary of it in the character section. So, yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the characters, gang. The characters, right. So, there's not nearly as many as there is in the Sanderson work. There's definitely a lot less POVs. You have like Michael, you have William from time to time. We'll get to him later. He's an interesting case. Emily, not Emily, the Emilys are, well, I guess Emily as in the William, or like William's daughter, and then the Emilys, so you get all the Emilys. You also get the Afton's wife, I forget her name because she's not super relevant. But yeah, then there's all the Emilys, so Charlotte, Henry, I forget his wife's name, but his wife is also in this, and I think they all get POVs. Evan gets a POV at the very beginning, the crying child. But yeah, no, Michael is obviously the star of the show. He's the one with the most POV chapters. He's kind of the main character throughout all of it. We follow him in his father's bad parenting, as he verbally abuses him and neglects him and whatnot. And yeah, you see, my friend Kestrel started this when they were an angsty teenager, and I definitely think this really helps. Michael's chapters are very realistic to being inside an angsty teenager's head, and you would think that as time goes on, that Kestrel wouldn't be able to replicate this because they are no longer an angsty teen. Well, I mean, technically they're like, what, 18, 19? I forget my own friends' ages. I'm a bad friend. But yeah, no. They're able to replicate it still very well. I'm very impressed, if I'm being totally honest. So, good job, Kestrel, for when you see this. I really enjoyed reading through Michael's POVs, and that's good, because he's a majority of the POVs. There's not a lot of Emily POVs. She's used sparingly, and I think she's used very well, because she's sort of just like used as a little bit of spice onto particularly sad scenes, so you can see it through the eyes of a child, which I think is very effective. Once again, we'll get to William. Henry, don't have a lot of strong opinions on him. He's just an all-around stand-up dude. But like, I don't know. He doesn't have like a lot of grit or anything. Which honestly, when I played through the FNAF games, I interpreted him with a lot more grit. So it was interesting seeing a different interpretation of him. But all in all, I liked Henry. He definitely isn't the star of the show or anything like that. It's not like he's... I don't enjoy reading his perspectives as much as I enjoy reading any of the Afton's perspectives. I think, but that's good because we don't get as many Henry perspectives, and the Aftons definitely are the stars of the show, which I've said like 4 times. Yeah, no, both the wives' perspectives are pretty good reads. I don't even know if you read through the Emily family's wife's eyes. Maybe you do. I don't recall. Their daughter is used pretty well every time you go into her head if you know anything about FNAF lore. yeah, it's a little tragic. William, Purple Man, dude. Favorite part of reading this fan fiction was reading William's sections. I don't know how the fuck Kestrel managed to write some of those sections, because god damn, they're good. Very good, very realistic. I feel like there are certain qualities that are described in William. And I should probably preface this by saying, in no way, shape, or form do I relate to William, apart from like very specific emotions, which terrifies me to my core, which is good. You know, art should make people uncomfortable, but like, you know, there's like sections where he's like listening to Emily talk, and he's like that grating voice, and it's like, ooh. Sometimes I feel that with people that I like used to be friends with. Ooh, like, how could he stand listening to that voice for so long? It's very good. It's very good. His Descent is very interesting to read. It's a little terrifying. I really enjoyed all of William's stuff. Yeah, no. The book itself is incredibly depressing. I think like in a very early chapter, like chapter 13 or 17, I don't recall, Kestrel's like, hey, it's gonna get lighter from here. When you read it. No, it doesn't. It actually gets so much worse. It at no point in time gets lighter. It does not get better. There is no light at the end of the tunnel for as far as I can see. Spoiler alert, we're up to Emily's death. In the book we just finished it. And Kestrel's still releasing chapters. So definitely, like I said, go check it out. I definitely think it's worth the read. It's pretty long, all things considered, for, well, I can't say it's long for a fan fiction, because there's some lengthy fan fictions out there. That being said, it's longer than you would expect. It's like, I think 127 Google Doc pages in length, which comes out to about like 300 some like book pages. So if you got the time to just sit down and read through 300 pages, I would highly recommend the FNAF fan fiction. Take the Fight from the Child, I believe it's what it's called. I'm gonna quick look. Take the Fight from the Kid. I didn't know what the title of the book was until I finished reading it. But yeah, no, it was quite enjoyable. Anyways, let's get into what makes these works similar, what makes them different, the actual comparison section, the section that I'm kind of making this video for. Right, so some comparisons. Honestly, despite me making the video for this section, I don't have a lot to say here, which is kind of funny. I just sort of dropped a review and now I'm going to leave you with basically nothing here. But yeah, no. So, comparisons between the books. They both talk extensively about mental health. The big difference here is, from the Way of Kings at least, characters are mentally sick and there is just no help for them. It's kind of depressing. There's nothing for them. There's nothing they can do. They just have to sort of wrestle with that. Half the time they're slaves. Conversely, and Take the Fight from the Kid, I think that's the name of it. I always forget because I didn't know the name of the book until like I started making this video because I just didn't read the title. Yeah, Take the Fight from the Kid. I got it. Yeah, everyone is also pretty mentally sick. Specifically Michael. That's kind of the big one here. But Michael does kind of get some help from Henry, which like you would expect it just to be like classic adult help. But for some reason, like Henry knows grounding techniques to help with disassociation, which kind of caught me a little off guard when I read it. But you know, if you're trying to make Henry a like good mentor figure or whatever, like a good like stable point, I think that was a good writing decision. Yeah, no, I said that and I realized it sounded like I was like bashing on the work. I'm not. I don't think it was a poor decision at all. But yeah, no, they both talk quite extensively about mental health. They both have pretty good, I think, representations of mental health. Brandon is a lot more focused on his world building. Kestrel doesn't really need to be, and I think that really works to their strengths, because as much as I love Sanderson's work, And it's obviously a series, so the characters will get fleshed out more. But sometimes it feels like the side characters get left behind a little in like the telling of this story, just because he focuses on world building and whatnot. A lot of people feel one dimensional, like that. Spoiler alert: there's a priest in the Yasna sections of the books who's secretly like an assassin, and I don't know jack shit about this dude really. No one does. He doesn't. I feel like he really was just sort of a romantic interest, and that's it. Until he's a traitor. Kestrel, and to be fair, that's no fault of Sanderson, because Sanderson's also fleshing out at the same time a really good world. But this is not a detriment or really a bash on Sanderson, because I really liked the book. It's just an observation I had. Kestrel doesn't really suffer from this because nobody's reading this work unless they know what FNAF already is. So they don't have to work on world building like at all. The only times when they do focus on world building is when it's used to also strengthen character. And the characters are definitely the highlight of their book, and they're able to basically just put all their focus into character work. So it really does make the characters feel a lot more alive. Also, they have a lot fewer POV characters, so you can spend a lot more time in like Michael's head. There's also quite a much larger focus on Michael. So we really get to know him throughout the course of the book. So yeah, no, that's my inadequate comparisons of the books. Yeah. Closing thoughts. I don't really got a lot, if I'm being totally honest. I've said most of what I needed to say. I said my piece. This was just kind of a should-ask video idea that I had. Not really supposed to be taken terribly seriously. I did all this filming in one take, not using any sound equipment or whatever, so yeah, no, obviously not something I'm like particularly proud of, and also probably will not be the norm on our channel unless there's a large demand for me sort of rambling with like bullet points of a script next to me that I didn't even really look at as I was given. This is pretty much all off the dome. There's like notes that I'll occasionally look over for like character names, because I sometimes suck with character names. But yeah, no, this sort of closing statement isn't necessarily about anything I talked about. It's just sort of about the channel in general. We'll probably do whatever the fuck we want to, just a place for us to dick around. We'll probably do like Let's Plays, longer form video content, skits, series. I'm developing a game, so maybe I'll post like updates about that on here, or like just shamelessly advertise for it and whatnot. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. That's pretty much all I got to say. Hope you enjoyed this video.